G'day, mates, and welcome to Blindbuilds with Blind Prime. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today, I'm going to be teaching you how to assemble your trouble bubble. Yesterday, me and the Duke of Alex and Big Convoy went on down to a little place called Acme Superstore, just a little south of Orlando, and we had a blast, and we got to see the new train, too. We were stuck at the crosswalk when the 339 came by, but that was neat. Anyway, the Acme Superstore is a big place. Wow, I was floored by just how incredibly large it is, and I know I didn't even get to everything in that store that day. I was too preoccupied by other things, especially their GI Joes and their Transformers, and oh my God, they had I didn't even know this, and Big Convoy pointed it out to us. They had a action figure of Delgado Snake, the guy from Escape from New York. There was an action figure of him, and they were asking $330 for it. Just whoa! I didn't know they made an action figure for him, and wow, that's a pricey action figure. Wasn't the priciest action figure there. There was some stuff there that blew me away. They had a 1/12 scale, not a 1/12 scale, a 1/6 scale tank. There was a 1/6 scale tank there with huge treads. It was massive, and they also had the 1/6 scale watchtower there for the foot tall. Actually, it was a wild place, and I definitely intend on going back again and bringing some more GI Joes stuff to trade for things. But I did trade a few things. I traded a Toxitron and a couple of other figures that I've had just laying around that I wasn't displaying, and I got myself a Trouble Bubble and an Iron Grenadier bat, and I am very happy with this trade. I think it works out pretty good, and today I'm going to explain to you how to assemble your own Trouble Bubble, because the Trouble Bubble was one of the vehicles that I don't have. My intent is to get all the vehicles. I would have picked up a Wrecker with Tiger Paw if it hadn't sold out a couple of days prior, and I would have picked up some Mole Rats if they hadn't sold out a couple of days prior. Apparently, a G.I. Joe Classified collector showed up, and he cleaned them out. They even had the regular Trouble Bubbles. I have the Python Patrol version. They had the regular ones, but that guy cleaned them out. They had Cobra Infantry, and that guy cleaned them out. They had Cobra Troopers. That guy cleaned them out. Just like, all I need is one more Cobra Infantry. And all he had was the retro version and the officer. And I'm like, I only want one officer. I'm sorry, I don't need another officer. And and the vehicle guy driver is another officer. So that works out pretty good, at least there. But I have 3 Cobra Infantry, and I was hoping to get a trooper while I was there, but sadly, no trooper available. But we did get the Televiper and the Trouble Bubble. So today, let's get into it, and without further ado, please go below, hit the like button, share, and subscribe as I describe to you how to assemble this really unique vehicle from the 80s. This one is one of those vehicles that you've seen once and you'll never forget. I've never forgotten it. This is the most unique vehicle from G.I. Joe, in my opinion. I think the his tank is one thing, but every opening has the Trouble Bubbles flying around. Cobra, 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 Cobra. I love the Trouble Bubbles. All right, so let's get into explaining to you how to assemble it. We'll start with the engine. So the Trouble Bubbles engine has 2 little ports on the back, and then it has one side that has flaps that actually move. You can move this wire here in the middle, and they shift back and forth. They're articulated. I think that's cool. And then on the top you've got your air intakes, and then here in the middle you have these 2 ports that connect. And one of these ports has some texture on top of it, and the other port doesn't have any texture. And that's how you can tell which one's the top port and which one's the bottom port. The top one's the one that has the texture you can see. And now we come around here to the Trouble Bubble and feel around to the back of it. you'll find there is this big bar that sticks up and has two ports in it for these two pegs on the engines. Now, on the inset of this trouble bubble, there's not a lot of texture right behind these engines, but there is a little bit. We've got this vent here. That's really nice. It feels like a light or something. And we do have motions of ribbon, little rivets that run down the sides of it. And oh man, this guy is as rivet crazy as the Hiss tank. It makes me so happy that they did so many rivets on this thing. I can't wait to pose it next to my Hiss tank. So fine that I just wanted to describe those rivet patterns and stuff that you may not be able to put your hands on once you plug this in, but go ahead and line up the engine to those ports. And once we got it, come on, line up the engine to the ports. Once you got it lined up, just go ahead and plug that in, and it just takes a little bit of a squeeze. And make sure I don't break anything. Let's squeeze it in there. There we go. Yeah, nice and tight. Look at that. I think that's cool. Those are some big engines. Okay, reminds me a lot of the ball from Mobile Suit Gundam. And that's, sometimes I wonder if the people that designed the Trouble Bubble hadn't been watching the original Mobile Suit Gundam, had they been watching that 0079 and were like, the ball is fun, let's make one for our stuff. So we're going to set him back down. And now we're going to get to the other parts. So we've got these little flappy doodles, and they are tiny little things, and each of them plugs into the missiles. And this was a fun bit, learning how they plug in, as I felt these little flaps, and I'm like, what are these, adjustments for something? And then I came across these missiles, and I felt on the sides of them, and there's a slot cut into these missiles, wherever the slot is. Where is that? Stupid, there it is. Okay, so there's a slot cut in the missile, and if it hadn't been for the Dragonfly, and the sheer amount of missiles I've played with since then, because the Dragonfly had a lot of missiles, I figured this out. I was like, oh, this is a weird herringbone thing, and that means that it's going to plug into one of these missiles, and sure enough, it does. I plugged it in backwards. There it goes. Is that the correct way? That is the correct way. So there we go. Plugs right into the missiles on one side, and these missiles are, of course, very similar to other missiles we've gotten, but sadly, their ends on the back are rounded. So they're not missiles, really. They're more like bombs. Because this rounded bit on the back is kind of a shame. I wish it was a port so that we could plug in some blast effects, because we've gotten some missile effects and stuff with the Dragonfly, and that would have been a fun thing to plug into the backs of these. I don't know why, but I am on the assumption this is a bomb that it drops, not a missile that it shoots. So to plug these in, you will find on the side of your trouble bubble there is a slit cut. So find the skids, and then there's a layer right above the skids, and then there's this bit that sticks out. So when you trace your finger, you're going to go up and then across, and then you're going to go up and across again, and you're going to get this little curve area that's like a little right angle, but it's curved. Right above that little right angle curve is this slit cut into the trouble bubble, and it feels like there's a vent in there, and I was thinking it was a vent, but then I realized there's a little hole cut into it. There's a little porthole, and that's because this guy fits in there. We're just going to plug you in. And then, sadly, though, the connection isn't that strong, so I'm going to have to get some sticky tack to really affect this. I wish I could... See, that's as good as it gets, but it will pop out real easy. And that's a shame. I was really hoping that it wouldn't do that. I've tried plugging it in on the other side, and it still does the same thing. Like, we're going to move it around here to the other side, and try to plug it in the same location. There it is. All right, let's wrap it down. So it's definitely one of those, like, really, that's a shame moments. And this doesn't connect as well as you may think it does, and that is a shame. Though, if you don't want to pose it with these missile pods on the sides, they are easy to remove. But let's go ahead and try and put this guy in place. Oh, come on. There we go. Let's set this. It's such a small connection. It is hard to get this thing to, like, stay in there. It never wants to stay in there. Oh, because I'm plugging in on the wrong side. They are side dependent from what I've been able to understand, but it's a process of elimination to figure it out. There's a lot of process of elimination on the trouble bubble. So we're just going to slide this around. And I was wondering, why don't we get more trouble bubbles? And it's because of little things like this where I'm like, oh, the trouble bubble has some issues. Okay, so that one plugged in pretty well. Now we're going to come around here to the other side, and we're going to plug in the other one, and hopefully that one doesn't fall out. But we can plug in the other one, and we'll actually plug it in with missile attachment. So we're just going to slide it in there, and it should, doesn't mean it will, plug in. Come on. No, nuts. Okay, come on. Plug into your little spot, you silly missile. You silly, silly missile. Come on. There it goes. All right. That actually got a better connection on that side. So let's go ahead and plug the missile into the other. Not you. Where's the missile? Here's the missile. No, you're not the missile. You're the gun. Where's the missile? Where'd the missile go? Here's the missile. All right. Now where's the slot for the missile? There it is. Okay. So let's go ahead and plug the missile into that spot. Come on now. There it goes. And then we can use the missile as leverage and popped it out. Crap. Why did you have to shift on me, you stupid trouble bubble? We were doing good until you did that shift right at the wrong moment. You chose the wrong moment to shift. Okay. I'm putting a lot of force in that, and that's as good as it's going to get. So there we go. We've got missiles on our trouble bubble. Next step, let's go ahead and put the gun on the bottom of the trouble bubble. We got this big giant gun, and the big giant gun has a port on the top of it that you can feel. And there is a ball socket, or a ball peg on the bottom of the this little joystick thing that the pilot will use. If you feel down there at the bottom right past the joint, and that allows it to twist back and forth, there is a little peg sticking out that has a ball joint on the end, and that's where this gun fits. So we're going to just plug the gun into that. It's not an easy one to get, so we're going to have to give it a little force. There it goes. Nice solid connection right there. Now we've got a gun. Now next step is we're going to come over here to this. This is a bomb. Now finding out that you can actually open this bomb up. Now where's the spot? Pardon me. Now here it is. So there's a little spot here, and you can actually get your thumbnail in there, and it takes a bit because it's really small. It is really small, but you can kind of get in there and open the bomb section up and reveal the interior. And I'm like, whoa, that's really cool. And now I really hate the fact I didn't pick up the tripwire that I almost grabbed at Acme Superstore, because now I could use the tripwire to defuse a bomb. Because like, why do I need tripwire? I don't have any bombs. And now I got a bomb and no tripwire. I'm like, nuts. So this guy, now this bomb, find the gun. I'll explain to you how this works. So find the gun, and then feel in the back of the gun for your trouble bubble. You'll find there is a porthole, a little bitty one, in the back of the gun. And then feel at the top of your bomb. There's that little spike. There's actually a lot of spikes on this. And this is supposed to be a mine of some sort. So plug the spike into that port on the back of the gun. There we go. And that is how your bomb mine thing, your mine, because I believe with its spikes, it's supposed to be a water mine. And that is how you assemble it. What fell? Oh, the bomb fell. But that's what you want to fall, right? Yeah, everybody wants the bomb to fall. Well, not really. You know what I mean. Let's see. There. We're going to put it with a little porthole sticking down. Maybe that would be a little bit better. But it is a solid enough connection that I can have it up here and move it around, and the bomb's not falling off. At the moment I set him on the treads, he's not going to have a good day. But we can move that bit forwards, and then we can open this up. So that is how you assemble the trouble bubble. And then right here, the other things that came with this action figure are the vehicle are the Televiper with his awesome helmet that is reminiscent of the helmet that we saw worn in I don't know if you've ever read the Halo books, but the third one, the one where they're on that weird shield world and they're training the next generation of whatever those people are called, Spartans, the next generation of Spartans. They have this weird helmet, and that's what this reminds me of for him. Halo 3, that was one of the helmet designs, and it is a very reminiscent of that design. That's one head that he has. The other two heads, and we'll talk about them more in depth on the review day. But we got this head here that looks like it's thick meta glasses. Like this guy's just straight up wearing some crazy VR glasses, but they're not really. It doesn't really feel like they're strapped in. I think they're actually on his face, or they're part of this mask over his head. But anyway, those are some thick VR glasses. And then, so that's more realistic in my opinion. And then you have this head here that's wearing the less realistic version of VR glasses. You just have these thin glasses that go over his eyes on this one. So you got three versions of heads to use. That's wild. We only get one or two heads. You know, rarely do we get two heads, but we normally get one head. To get three in a box and each of them to have such a dramatically different feel and texture to them, that is wild. Definite bonus for this. Next, you get this backpack that is a communications backpack and has like this little stinger bit on the bottom of it. I don't know what that's all about, but it feels neat. It's got this little post on the side that you would think you're supposed to plug a weapon into, but actually, I think let's take this post at the bottom. Yeah, the little stinger at the bottom. We're gonna plug the hose into at the bottom, and then where's his gun at? Your gun. He's got this crazy gun. This is a weird one. So it's got a huge barrel that fits no blast effect, but actually, it won't even fit a Transformers blast effect. I have one laying around here somewhere, just for occasions like this. Where did my on-hand blast effect go? What did y'all do with it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is a Transformers blast effect, and it does actually work out pretty good. It won't stay in there, but the medium pattern, or the small little splash pattern for Transformers blast effects, will fit in there. And I think using a little sticky tack, that would look really nice. Because it's a sound gun that blasts a big cone of sound out, and this is a cone. And I think it works out pretty good. Anyway, so you want to plug the hose into the bottom. Oh, nuts. You want to plug the hose into the bottom of the handle. We're going to plug the hose into the bottom of the handle. There we go. Hose plugged in. Then you plug the hose into the bottom of the backpack. Hose plugged in. Okay, now you come over here, find the trigger for this thing. Where's the trigger? There's the trigger. And we can slide the gun onto the backpack around the trigger area. There we are. And that is a fully outfitted little weapon. That's pretty nice. I think so. I think that works out pretty good. And there's a little radio antenna as a part of it. He's got a crazy sound gun. He's got backpack, radio antenna. This guy's all sorts of tripped out for any sort of battle, and I love it. So tune in next Prime, where we're actually going to go over this figure in depth. And if you happen to find yourself in Orlando or near whereabouts, go check out the Acme Superstore. They are overstocked and need your help buying things. So go and help them out and clean off some of their shelves so they can put some more cool stuff on them. Until next Prime, bye-bye for now.